Hey you! Do you like video games? Do you like ninjas? Do you like titties? Then how about video game ninja titties?
Well, good for you. There is a whole franchise about that and it's called Senran Kagura. It's pretty good, usually 3D beat 'em ups, but covering other genres too. Nice story by the way. However, it's currently in a bit of a pickle. Here I will talk about Senran Kagura 7 and what we can do to help the franchise to get out of the mess it's currently in. The game can't be released right now because of the issues with Sony's current policies. So, 7 development is currently on hold. This will obviously lead to delays and has the risk of getting the game cancelled. What is the alternative? Nintendo. Their console can run current gen games and their policies are much laxer. A PC version will be made as it's been the case with previous games, essentially having the same cycle. However, niche games like Senran will be easily eclipsed by other games on PC according to Takaki, so having a Switch version would be preferable. A later PS4 port could be made too, but censored as per Sony's request. If you are wondering about some reasons from a business perspective for Marvelous, here are some. 1. Censored games sell less. This is shown when we look at the sales of games like Omega Labyrinth Live and Lover Kiss and compare the Switch version with the PS4 one. The former sold more than 3 times the amount on Switch than it did on PS4, and the later reaching over double the numbers. They seem to be aware of that, because they did mention a lower sales forecast for an announced game, due to the removal of a sexual element. 2. Switch is already selling better than the PS4, in Japan and in a worldwide scale. Nintendo Switch is selling well, to the point that it outsold the PS4 in Japan in less than half of its lifetime. At this point, the Switch has a huge sales advantage compared to the PS4. Switch has almost 18 million units on the Japanese market right now, while the PS4 is barely at 9 million units, almost a double of a difference. If we look into a world scale, then we can see that Switch sold more units than the PS4 in the same time frame. The PS4 selling 60 million units on 3 years and 6 months, and the Switch selling over 68 million units on just 3 years and 5 months. 3. Despite not being on the original plans of Marvelous, Sakuna ended up selling best on Nintendo Switch. Yes, one of the latest Marvelous games is Sakuna of Rise and Ruin, a game that originally was going to come just for PC and PS4. Nintendo had to intervene in order to get Sakuna released on Switch, which Exceed was hesitant to do, since it was too much work. But in the end, they released the game, and guess what? They didn't regret it at all. They were happy with how the game performed and happy as well of Nintendo's support with the game. They did mention that the pre-orders were double on Nintendo Switch compared to the PS4. Plus, if we look in Japan, the situation was somewhat similar. Sakuna on Switch was always ahead of the PS4 version in terms of total units. However, in the end, the Switch ended up selling considerable more. If you check the list, you see that the PS4 version has about 48,000 units sold, while the Switch version has 49,000 units sold. Doesn't look like that big of a difference, right? Well, let's see what happened the week after. Switch has 65,000 sales. A really impressive number, but where is the PS4? Nowhere to be seen. Guess we shall have to check later. Let's go to the next 2 weeks to see how the numbers stack up. And the results are even worse for the PS4. While Switch was having a whopping 85,000 units sold, the PS4 version failed to even make it to the list. What I want to say with this is, despite Marvelous not wanting to release the game on Nintendo Switch originally, the game ended up selling really well, and Exceed themselves are glad they took Nintendo seriously. Let's go to the other point. 4. Doing a crowdfunding campaign like Platinum Games did with the Wonderful 101. To mitigate the cost of moving development to new platforms, they can open up a crowdfunding campaign and receive funding from the fans themselves, like Platinum did, whose campaign was a massive success. If costs are a concern, this can certainly help. This route also helped Platinum Games gauge how much interest people had in their game. If Marvelous also wants to know if fans have interest in the series and are committed to it, to see if it's worth keeping alive, then this is an interesting option as well. 5. A censored PS4 version can still be done, taking an approach similar to Omega Labyrinth Live. If they want to keep the work that's already done on the PS4 and minimize losses, they can still release a censored PS4 version after finish the Switch Steam work. While sales will probably be lower here, they can still make some profit and get more people to play on their favorite platform, so this can be an option depending on what they want to do. Now, what can be done? Well, Marvelous is open to feedback. I talked with the European branch about the situation, and they said that we can email the Japanese branch of Marvelous, which is Marvelous Inc., since Europe mainly does localization work. It was stated that they passed the feedback to the relevant contact, but they did say that sometimes it's better to see it from the fans as well, meaning that they are listening to fan demand. So, here's what we can do. 1. The first step of the movement was to create a petition to bring some attention. This went well, and we have about 1200 signatures. You can support the movement by also signing it. It was shown that Marvelous is listening to fan demand, as the Europe branch suggested sending an email to Marvelous Inc. detailing the situation, so you can ask them there about bringing 7 on Switch instead, due to the problems the development is facing on the PS4. Few things to know. The email needs to be in Japanese, however, using Google Translate is good enough. If you receive an answer, then don't send another email, just send the one. 3. Using a hashtag. Similar to what other video game movements have done, we can use the hashtag 7forswitch. Here, post your Sunrun Relay tweet and start using it. You can tell why you like the series or why you want 7 to get released. If you are a content creator, you can do a video about it using the hashtag. You can share or create your own fan art for it, post your gameplay of the games, maybe post your general ideas for new concepts. There even are Discord servers created just for that. You can also show your merchandise. Everything counts. Just use a hashtag. So we have all our content unified in one place. We can also tweet the official accounts too. That includes the official Sunrun Kagura account, Marvelous Japan account, and the European Exceed accounts, since they pass some feedback on the relevant contacts. Remember to tweet in Japanese when you contact with their Japanese branches. And that's all, folks. We need to be vocal with all of this and show that we want to support the series and Kenichiro Takaki. We must make noise now. You know why? Because it's the 10th anniversary of Sunrun Kagura, from its release back in 2011. It really is our golden ticket to show all of our interest. We must unite, find the biggest space possible for this and be committed to the same goal. If this way we make enough noise, there is a chance that Marvelous will react. And don't lose hope. Remember that games like Upper seem to be dead. There weren't news about the game since 2018, but one random day of October of 2020, Uppers come to the light on PC, reaching the PS4 version. So well, that's all, folks. See you later, everyone. Gambate!